Hello, hello, Youest You community. I am so excited to be here with you. Today, I've got my real sister, like real deal, one and only sister, Emily McAllister, formerly Reisler, on this interview with me. I'm really, really excited to get into all things. We're going to talk about her book and what she's writing about and living through, which is the mom life crisis, and just what is it to be a mom and to also be entrepreneurial. She is amazing. She is also an incredible photographer. She took a lot of my photos. Frankly, if we lived closer, I would have her do all of my photos. She knows that. And we're also going to get into some the deep end of the pool. We're going to talk about recovery from addiction. What does that look like? Being a mom, being an entrepreneur. So for those of you who've been like lifers with me since I've started, you may have heard me and chat it up a couple years ago, and I just thought we got to have her back for seconds. I always love seconds and thirds. And I'm really, really freaking excited to have you. I just want to say a little note. We sound very similar. So just want to say we are definitely sisters from the same mother. And I'm super psyched for you to be here. That didn't really go well. That's all right. We're going to just roll right in.
Mister.
Oh, that's it. I'm like, shoot, I got it right. I was like, that doesn't rhyme. Sisters from the same mister and mother, clearly.
So weird.
Oh, good Lord. It is so weird. Okay. You are so much more witty and like good with words. So now that I'm like just putting it out there. Yeah, we're sisters from the same mister. All right. Well, let's get started. Oh my gosh. This is so fun. I think let's for those who haven't heard that interview, 3 years ago, I just think your story, I mean, recovery, living a life of being an active, going from addiction to living in recovery and then deciding I really want to use my gifts in the world, and the way you're doing that, I just think is so cool. And you've built this incredible following both on Instagram, on Twitter, and your writing and your photography, your gifts, it's just been amazing to watch you express them. But it didn't start that way always. And I think it'd just be helpful to talk a little bit about what the heck was it like before?
Like growing up, like that.
Well,
that before?
we could go there. We could talk
Growing
about
up in the shadow of Julie Reisler. Are you serious? I mean, forever Julie Reisler's little sister.
Oh gosh. Although you are no more. There is no, no shadow, no more. No.
I don't know what before we're talking about, but I think for me, there was just always a feeling of misfitness. I just did not color in the lines, quite literally. If you remember, we used to color.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's perfect pictures. Everything was squared off, and my hands would be covered in markers. I'm like, why is it all over my hands? And it's not on your hands. Just very good metaphor for our roles in our family.
Yeah.
I think I just was born with there's this formula that we're told about life that you're supposed to do a very specific way, and you're just kind of or I just kind of accepted that was right, and that veering from that made you wrong. And I could not walk that line very well, and so there was a lot of veering in my early days, quite a bit of testing waters in different ways, and I kind of was drawn to people who were outside the lines, and people who were living alternative lifestyles and doing different things. And it got me in a lot of trouble too, because there wasn't a lot of encouragement to hone that differentness. So it just, a lot of the kids that are not following the rules are getting in trouble. So I don't know. I feel early in life, I felt kind of that feeling of oh my God, too much, I'm not enough. I think a lot of people the older I get, the more I realize everybody kind of struggles with that, I think, on some level. But yeah, I don't know. There was so I went off and did kind of my own journey. God, I don't even know where we're starting from, but I went and I lived in Arizona for a while. I was supposed to be out there for 4 months, got into a relationship with the low pot dealer. That was very convenient. And ended up staying in Prescott, Arizona for like 3 years, like 2.5 years, 3 years. Yeah, like 3 years. And then kind of hit a bottom there because I was getting into like a lot of substance, and I'm just like bodily and mentally different than non-addicts. So there's not a lot of balance. Like for me, I feel like there was like this idea that like you're supposed to feel good all the time. But
Yes.
truly, I still battle with that. Like when uncomfortable feelings come up, and I'm like, okay, normal people just sit with this. Like you just feel it. It sucks, but then it'll pass. And in my mind, it was like this panic mode of like, I'm going to feel this way forever. I cannot feel this way. This is so uncomfortable. I will do anything I can to feel different and feel better. And I didn't have the tools to like healthily feel better. So I was like very interested in staying feeling good, like as much as possible all the time. And then ended up hitting a bottom with it all. Landed myself into a treatment facility in the summer of 2004. And so that was kind of saved my life. I mean, that wasn't the like end of my road, but it definitely pumped the brakes. It definitely gave me a space to like take a look at myself in a totally different way. I got introduced to 12-step recovery through that treatment facility. And then I ended up moving out to Southern California as a result of that facility, because they highly recommended that I do some form of continuing aftercare. And I was like, well, I literally have nowhere else I need to be. I've kind of burned all my bridges. So I would like to go where I can learn how to surf, and I would not like to go to Florida. So they placed me in Southern California. Knew I didn't want to go to Florida. No offense to all the Florida listeners, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt very humid to go live in Florida. So, and then I came out here and I started to like get introduced to like real recovery and like young people in recovery. And it was like this whole world, because I thought like, oh, like the fun is over. My life is over. Now I have to be sober. Now I have to like do all this stuff. But it was like so fun. Like I did way more in recovery. Like when I was drinking and doing drugs, it was like you sit on a bar stool and you talk about all the things you're going to do and like never get off the bar stool. It's like, I think we had plans at one point. I had a couple of friends, and we're like, we're going to move to Costa Rica, and this guy Mike's going to build us homes, and we're just going to live off the land. And like, this like crazy, like no plan, but like these ideas. And then coming out here, people were like going to concerts and going dancing and getting coffee and going to dinner and having friends and like truly connecting with people and fellowshipping and all that type of stuff. And it was really fun. And we were sober, it was a little bit uncomfortable too. It's freaking uncomfortable at first, but
Yeah.
and that began like the journey with a lot of hiccups along the way.
I, I love that. We'll go to the hiccups in a minute, but I want to go back to something you said, because I have a feeling others can really relate to this. And my brain was like, yeah, aren't we supposed to, like, I want to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that belief, is such a core belief so many struggle with and deal with. And I was like, you know, for me, I mean, I turn to food, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah,
way
you
that
did
I,
that too.
yeah. I was like, got that too.
What do
Got
you
that on the
got?
list.
Like, what do you got? I'm happy to try it. Like, definitely a garbage disposal, like with
Right.
every way. Like, I could make anything addictive. Like,
Yeah.
truly, if it's fun, if it feels good, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like,
Yeah.
let's ride it till the wheels fall off,
Right.
and then we'll ride on the hubcaps until they start sparking. Like,
Oh my gosh. I think the difference is I always got nervous or like scared to try things that like food.
yeah.
I was like, hey, sugar, I know what it's going to do. It's going to like give me a high and then I'm going to feel horrible, but at least I got that.
Mhm.
But I think what you're saying, this feeling good all the time, so many people can relate to that. And
Mhm.
what I've observed and what I heard you say is learning how to sit with shit, to sit with those
Truly.
feelings. Yeah.
That's like the bravest thing I do, like, is to feel my feelings. And I'm not
I hear
kidding.
you.
Like, it's so crazy because even like, we were just in Boston and we visited dad and I saw you and it was great. And then just even being home or
Yeah.
back at the, it's not really home anymore, but being back there, like it just brings up like I had a great time in a lot of ways. And then it stirs up all the stuff. And I came home and I was like, I feel sad. Like I
Yeah.
felt, and I was tired, but I felt really sad. And I was
Yep.
like mentally like, okay, this is what sad feels like. And I mean, I'm almost 13 years sober, still figuring out how to feel feelings. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, this is what sad feels like. What can I do? Okay, I'm going to work out and I'm going to go go to the beach today and sit in the sun with my friends and get some, like, do these actions that will help. But like, I still had to feel sad. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so unnatural for me. Like, and I still get my mind blown that like, I'm not numb. I don't numb out over it, which
Yeah.
is like, whoa. Cause like, I couldn't do that. And I just didn't know that there was like a way to not do that.
Yeah. To me, and I mean, I always say, like, grew up, at least my experience, very loving parents. I
Uh-huh.
just don't think they knew how to teach us how to experience feelings. Like, they were blocked or not talked about. And I'm with you. To me, feeling things is like miraculous. That is like absolutely in the territory of it's a miracle. I'm totally with you. I also came home and felt sad, a little,
Hungover.
yeah, like emotionally
Emotionally, that's
hungover.
exactly it. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
totally.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and just seeing dad who's older and going through
Mhm.
some stuff in a lot of ways. Yeah, it brought up that for me too. And it's funny, I know you can't run from it, right? I'm not going to eat over it. I'm got to be with it. And it's just my instinct is always like, is there another way? Like, can I just avoid
Yeah,
this? But it
this
doesn't
sucks.
work. It
Well, and I
doesn't
always think
work.
like, what would a normal person do? Like, I really do. I think, what would a human do? Like, what does a human being do when they feel, because like, I really think I didn't know how to like be a person.
Yeah.
Like truly,
Yeah.
like to be a human is to have experienced the highs and the lows. And
Yep.
I'm really just like in it for the highs. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we could just bypass all that other stuff and go straight to the fun part, but that's
Right.
like not true, and that's like a very immature like way to like live life. But I didn't know that, like,
Right.
bro,
Right.
and I didn't even have that like awareness when I first got sober, because there's so many other vices you can use
Yeah.
that don't involve drugs and alcohol, like food, men, shopping, gambling, all the things, like working
Yeah.
out, like
Social
you can,
media.
I'm not social media, like I can make
Yeah.
anything unhealthy. I can make
Yeah.
anything unhealthy, really. And it's like kind of annoying. It's like a little bit like whack-a-mole, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, look what I'm doing over here. Like I am totally like all in on this thing because it's distracting me, like
Right.
keeping me from feeling myself in this present moment. But it is interesting that like every time I do allow myself that space to like process something, I feel like it's like builds a self-esteem, because you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I did it. I felt
I
the
can
feeling.
do this.
I
Yeah.
felt the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt sadness fully and now I'm ready to release, but I did it.
Now
I
I
knew
can take the world. Yeah.
right. I could do anything now. It kind of reminds me, I know we're both into kind of heading into the spiritual slant, both with 12 steps, but also listening and
Yeah.
to Abraham Hicks
Yeah.
work. Right. And they, through her, talk a lot about contrast and that
Mhm.
in this 3D world, in this human experience, we need contrast. And I'm always like, why do we need contrast?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck is up with, I mean, and I get it. So it just feels like as you're speaking, I so relate this. I know because I've gotten messages from many that are listening, like, this isn't, we're not the only ones, but the
Yeah.
thing is, it can feel like you're the only one. And I'm so with you with this. Like, how do we stay present and realize it's not supposed to be necessarily a high at all times and
I
to
mean,
be with that
why?
contrast.
Why
I
not?
I know. I mean, I'm the same. I'm always like, all right, universe, like, what up? When is the next realm where it is
Yeah.
always, which I
Well,
guess is
because
the
yes,
next.
and it's like I feel like true to also like the more you try to like squeeze onto it, it like slips away. Like you have to really just enjoy it. Be like, okay, like I feel so good right now, and I'm gonna like wait it, because like if you try to
Yeah.
like hold on to it, it like slips through your fingers, and then you didn't enjoy it, and then it's like you're chasing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just bizarre.
It's so, I mean, I'm so with you on this. I have a question. I want to go back for a minute. I
Mhm.
think this metaphor of drawing out of the lines was really powerful. And it's interesting because being in the entrepreneur space, I've actually found, I feel like most entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurial thinking minded, like started in a situation of drawing out of the lines. Like
Mhm.
didn't necessarily go to college, didn't, struggle oftentimes with ADD, with
Mhm.
just doing things differently, dyslexia, all different kinds
Learning
of like,
differently, yes. Process
yeah,
information,
which
yes.
I was just thinking, in this idea of being your Youest You, like really aligning, tuning in, honoring all of you. And so how have you, because to me, drawing out of the lines and the way your photography, your writing, your like that to me, those are gifts that thankfully you are drawing out of the lines because that's a
Mhm.
gift. How did you start to make peace with that part of you and like actually express it, love it? Because I see that as like, that is your Youest You.
I think like going from the mindset that like I felt messy is the word I feel like was
Mhm.
how I felt like, or the story I told myself about myself is like a messy. But then that like realizing that like where that is a strength. Exactly. Like I feel like from like we're very fortunate, and I didn't even fully lean into it as a young person, but we talked about this a little bit where we grew up. I did not know that like every school system didn't have like a very heavy influence on the arts. I just thought that's how school was. But where we grew up, there's like all these freaking people who came out of Newton who are like celebrities now, who are actors, singers, dancers, producers, reality shows. I mean, it's all over the place. And I
Yeah.
really do think it's because there was such a heavy emphasis on the arts. And I think because even though I wasn't confident enough to like fully lean into that at that time, it was instilled in me how important art is, like in all forms,
Mhm.
right? And that everybody has a way of expressing themselves, which makes everybody an artist. And so I think where I started to embrace it was, I think like from a young age, I remember like realizing I could like write well, like I could express myself through writing, and people seem to like relate. And so to me, such a big part of my purpose, and I'm sure I mean, everybody has their feeling, but like is to connect. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to connect with people. I feel like I'm supposed to connect others to each other. Like, I've just always felt that way. Like, and then I had a moment when I was really stoned once where I was like, I'm a connector. And like, I really do think it was a real moment of clarity, but I just happened to be pretty stoned. But no, but I feel like realizing that I could connect with people in that way, that started pretty young. Then like getting into recovery, and like I like to speak. I like that feeling when you just I'm very energy sensitive. So I just love that feeling when you're speaking or talking to someone and you know you feel that like relating. And even when I went into treatment, I remember I had all these like embarrassing, shameful, horrific secrets and stories. And then I just remember sitting with these girls. It was like a 13 girl like lockdown facility, and we sit outside after the day of treatment and smoke cigarettes and tell our war stories and laugh our asses off, like laugh at the darkest like stuff that you would never have told in the light of day. And so I think part of like realizing that I was able to connect with people in that way, I really enjoy like public speaking and getting to do 12-step recovery. There's a lot of opportunity to do that. And then also just kind of always loved photography. We didn't really have the financial support because it was expensive to do in high school. And I remember just, it was like too much. Like, so I never really tried it in high school, but I always had a camera. I love documenting. I love documenting. Um, and so when I decided to put myself out there like that, like what, like 6 or 7 years ago, and I started doing photos and realizing that like people were responding to that. Just like when I guess like I hate to say that like other people's validation like formed me, but there is something to be said for like your peers' receival of you, like how you're perceived and received. And like I don't think I always had the confidence to be like like I'd be like, I think I'm good at this, but then it was like you kind of don't know how it's going to be perceived in the world. And there is something to be said for like other people getting it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's a confirmation or an affirmation of like, okay, like it helps you build more confidence. Like, oh, see, I do have something here. But now I feel like, and I still sometimes feel like messy because like whatever, but I don't see it as such like a bad thing anymore. I think it's more like, you're right. Like there's ways that it allows me to express myself and makes me like kind of an open book, because I'm like, well, whatever, I'm never gonna be, because I did the like Instagram blogging thing for a while, and there was this like lane of bloggers who are super put together, perfect house, perfect clothes, kids look perfect, husband looks like, you know I'm thinking of a specific friend of mine who does it, and she's very successful. Her husband looks like David Beckham. Like they're very beautiful, and they can pull off the perfect thing because that's their real life really looks like that. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be that. Like, so I might as well just be like who I am because I don't want to pretend to be perfect, because I don't think anyone's going to believe that I'm perfect. Like, it's not something that's like believable. So I might as well just be me and be messy and like allow people to identify with that and to relate to that. So I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's just like a process of like realizing like what's not going to work. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to work for me to be Julie, because I think for a long time
Mm.
growing up, like you were able to do those things. You were really good at following the rules. You were able to go to school, stay in school the full day, you know, like show up on time, stay the whole day and leave at the end of the day. Whereas
Right.
like I showed up late, I skipped all my classes, and then I went to a
Right.
friend's house, you know, it was just different. And I think you reach a point where it's like, I can't be that. So
Yeah.
what's left, you know? I
Mm.
don't have the energy to like try to be anything I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
tired.
this is, would you say you're right?
I'm
It's tiring.
tired. And also having kids, like there for me, like having kids when I had Aiden, my oldest, you know, she's almost 11, and Instagram was very new. It was really Facebook. And there was this like highlight reel. Now it's a little bit more gritty. I think there's a little bit more like people telling the real truth about motherhood and life. But like at the time, it was like Pinterest was new, like everything was like perfect. And I was like, what the F? Like, why am I struggling? You know, no one else seems to be struggling.
Yeah.
And then I was like, F it, I'm gonna talk about the struggle because no one else is, you know. I mean, I'm sure there was other people, but in my perception, it felt very like
Right.
there wasn't anything to look to that felt real.
The gift, I think also what you're saying too, is the gift of sharing both authentically, but of imperfection. Because first of all, what the hell, there is no perfect, but it's to me, there's a toxic aspect of this in social media where you see these, first of all, perfect looking images. And for some, that might really be their family and bless
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
However, right, and I really am getting, it's like owning the messiness, owning the gifts, owning like where people zig, you might zag, but that zagging there's brilliance in there, which is so
Right.
true.
And I think there's like, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, and just what I've noticed is you will share, I try to do this as well, but from this really raw, authentic place. And you have a way of doing that also coming from the recovery, the experiences you've been in. Like you're not on the bar stool anymore. You're actually doing the things. I
Yeah.
love that you talked about. And that's something people can count on you for, is real, you
Well, and also
know?
and also being able to freaking laugh at yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's not so serious.
Yeah.
Like I think part of it
Yeah. That's
is
good.
like it's like not that serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it really isn't. Like
Yeah.
why like people like rule 62, don't take yourself so seriously, right?
Is that really rule 62?
Well, I don't know. It's in the big
Oh,
book.
oh. I was like, wow,
I don't know. I always think rule 62 because it's I don't know I don't know where the rule came from, but it's don't
yeah.
take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, really. I think everyone listening, this, I'm like, my whole being is like, Julie, listen the F up to what she's saying. Like, do not take yourself so seriously and be able to laugh
Well, what
with and
is
at yourself.
serious? Like what really matters? Like, you know, I have a very
Yeah.
close girlfriend who you should actually talk to on here because she's phenomenal. She got sober during COVID on Zoom after losing a child tragically. Well, when she lost that child, an 8-year-old son, she had a 5-week-old baby and a 2-year-old and had to like do life, and then got sober at like a year later and has stayed sober. And I'm like, that's serious.
Yeah.
My house, my laundry not being done, me being annoyed by my kids, me feeling like, oh, my jeans are tight. Like that's not freaking serious. That's like
Right.
human, you know? And it's like, oh, okay, let's laugh about it. Like, okay, it's not, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Like, let's put it in perspective. And also honoring when it does feel like a big deal. Sometimes those things do feel like a really big deal.
I was going to say my jeans did feel tight 2 weeks ago and it did feel like a big deal and it was upsetting, but I'm like, I didn't laugh.
Feel different day to day. I'm
Yeah.
not
Let's just
like
say
put them on in the
that.
morning and they fit one way, put them on at night and I'm wearing not buttoned pants anymore. It's going to be
All right. We're going to do an unofficial poll. So if you're listening and you're already this far, I want you to like comment and share. And have you felt like your jeans are too tight and how did that make you feel? Did you laugh? Because if not, try it.
Yeah.
I haven't yet figured out how to do
then what do you do? It's like, it's funny. Like, you know, I'm not like trying to quote my own Twitter, but I did just do this like tweet where I was like, you know, life is going to kick you in the balls. That's just what life does. Life will kick you in the balls sometimes. And then the choice is, I can spend the rest of my freaking days talking about the way life kicked me in the balls, because I can, people do,
Or
or
ovaries.
or you, or well, your figurative balls.
Yes.
I mean, nobody really gets kicked in the ovaries, but people do get kicked in the balls. But like, or I can like get myself back up, protect my balls a little better,
Yeah.
and freaking keep going. Like, but
Yeah.
there's nothing empowering about talking about getting kicked in the balls all the time. Like,
Yeah.
don't quote. I mean, don't. If there's one thing you quote in this interview, please don't let that be it.
I actually didn't take note on
the
that.
caption.
Yeah.
Protect
Yeah.
your balls. Please name this episode "Protect Your Balls."
You know, we don't even know. These could be all kinds of different balls. They could be your soccer balls. They could be the actual, I mean, there's a lot of balls. It's
Your
all
boob.
good.
I mean,
Protect yourself. Protect your, yes, I think protecting your energy.
don't at me. Don't at me. This is an opinion. It's figurative. Rule 62, people. If you're offended by my balls reference, just skip on through it.
Right. Well, actually, the underlying, you mentioned this earlier, kind of on a metaphysical level, is I think there is a piece around protecting your energy, protecting,
Yeah.
you know, managing your energy. That's where my mind goes is, you know, God, there's a great quote. Who said that? Oh, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. She wrote Whole Brain Living. She's been on here. She did the TED Talk, A Stroke of Insight. She's amazing. She, in her signature, it says,
Protect your
please
balls. Just kidding.
it actually doesn't, but I'm going to ask her to change it. It says, please manage your energy, manage the energy you bring to each room or you bring
Love
to,
that. Yeah.
I was like,
I
damn.
feel energy when I walk in a room, like immediately.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pause.
We might have a little
Oh.
special surprise guest, my niece. Which
Never
one?
mind.
I don't know.
No, I feel like I can feel, and when I walk into a room, I can feel, if you are energy sensitive, you know what
Everyone listening, girl, that's who we're talking to. Our empaths, energy
but I
sensitive.
feel like, like, if you are like, and
Yes.
you don't have anything, like, you just know, you just feel it.
Yeah.
And I think most people could access that, even if they think that they don't, because I think, like, if you pay attention to the way your body responds, you just, like, you can walk into a room and know if it's like tense or it's light, and that's what draws you to people too, is like, I don't know, I'm sure you talk about this all the time, but yes. So I don't know how we ended up here. How did we get here?
Well, we're talking about balls. We were talking about,
It took a turn.
Protecting your energy. Stop taking yourself so seriously. Your genes feeling crappy.
Oh, we're talking about, yes. Like, how do you respond versus react? Like, let's respond to life and not react to it. Yeah.
Okay. So here's my question, because I know you are, and I'm putting it out there because Em is writing her book. And I want to put it out there because
it's very stop and go. And right now we're in a stop. But now that you're saying this, it has to be a go.
That's why I'm saying it. I'm like, this book needs to be out here, you guys. She's a really good writer. You're a good writer.
I've been trying to write this book for like 7 years, probably. And there's content there. I just need to stop making excuses.
Well, this is the time you're declaring it.
Yeah.
Tell us about, so Mom Life Crisis is the working title. It could change. We don't know. That could be the tagline. It could be the title, but tell us, like, what is the kind of the idea, the impetus behind it? You are a mom. You somehow have two, like, my nieces are the cutest, most adorable, beautiful ladies. I don't know how you do it, being like momming and entrepreneur stuff. Like,
you do it.
Not so well. They're also older, but not so well. So talk about the book and like what really is that heartfelt, like, the why?
So the working title and has Mom Life Crisis, with Mom Life, and I like a midlife crisis, but when you become a mom, something happens. A lot of things happen because there's all the things that you think it's going to be like, and then there's all the ways that it really is, and then there's like this very humbling time, and then there's like a reconnection of self. This is my experience. This book is the book I needed when I became a mom. And maybe something like it exists, but I never read it. So basically, like, I was, if there was a tagline, because I don't have a tagline for it. I have a couple of, but like, it's like finding yourself when you're lost in motherhood, or, I do. I feel like this like crazy, beautiful, like sometimes ugly thing happens. You become a mom, you have kids. It's very different. Like there's a lot of things that when you hear someone's pregnant, there's a lot of things that go through your head. But we don't tell them everything because they wouldn't hear it anyway. Because I remember thinking, I'll never let my babies cry because that's cruel, which it's not. But like in my mind, I just thought like, I read an article that said it was damaging and just all these hypotheticals. And it's like everything else in life. You do not know what it's going to be like until you're there, until you're in it. But we have all these like movies and shows that make you feel like it's going to be a certain thing. And then it happens. And it's like, my experience was like, my heart like freaking exploded to the point where it was painful. Like, how am I going to protect this thing? How am I going to do this? Then I'm looking at social media, feeling like I'm totally failing. Then I'm dealing with postpartum anxiety, which was, not the kind of anxiety where I felt like I didn't have like where I didn't want to hold the baby, or where like I felt like necessarily like bad things were going to happen. It was just like kind of like overwhelm, and then there was like this very like lost, lonely feeling during that time. But then it's like this reconnection to self that could only have happened after like such a breakdown. And I feel like like becoming your Youest You, truly, because it's for me, it started to be like, I am so lost that I need to find myself. I need to find something and I almost went back to like, what did I like to do when I was little? Like, what are the things I really like to do? I liked to draw and sing and like talk to people and take pictures, and I liked to create, and like that's where I found like the like foundation of like rebuilding was like, okay, like I'm a creator, like it's okay to admit and declare that I am creative, and I am an artist. Like we are all artists, but like in our own right. But like, and then just kind of like build from there, because that's where I could be the most authentic. Was like, I have a friend whose mom, she always tells me her mom always said, like, do the things that you're naturally good at. It's like people have this idea, like, you should do all the things that you are challenging to you.
Yeah.
But if
No.
that's fine. But like, why are we not leaning into our natural talents? Like, why are we taught to like, if you're really good at English, why are you like banging your head against the wall about math? Like, do the English,
Yeah.
And so that's also part of where I think I was like, okay, like these things that are make me are my superpowers. So like, also I want my kids to like lean into who they are. So now I have to lean into who I am. I don't know. So the whole book is kind of that process with a little bit of like storytelling and like little like anecdotal like stories about situations that like made me have those moments of clarity. But like, I'll tell you, like the struggle in writing this book has been, first of all, I feel like, how's this all going to come together? Like, this is so all over the place. Like, I don't understand how this is going to become a book, because there's so many different compartments. And I get to that like imposter syndrome. Like, who freaking cares what you have to say? Nobody cares. Like, you do that thing. And so I've talked to you and a couple, you interviewed Meg Boggs on here. I talked to Meg, she wrote a book, and she's like, that's really normal. Like, that's all very normal. So
Yeah. Expect that, by the way.
what?
Expect that voice to come
Yeah,
out.
like it's like very confronting.
Yes.
Like it's very confronting. There was a point I was writing about something that I wasn't intending to write about. I'm like, I can't put that in the book. My parents are going to read this. Like, and you hit a wall where it's like, that's too much. Like, I can't tell that story, And it's like, well, you either going to tell the truth or you're not going to tell it,
Yeah.
So, it's now having this conversation is like, I gotta go back. Cause I have all these little, like, I'll put these little notes in my phone, like just little like sentences or phrases or paragraphs, like things that I know I need to talk about or write about. And there's a lot in there right now that I haven't expanded on.
I love it. Well, I want to say, and there's a little bit of the agenda is you're like everyone listening. Em is an amazing writer. You really are. In addition to photographer, like you have that gift. And I know that this is an important thing, even if it's not fully baked, it doesn't matter. So I know when we declare stuff out loud,
Yeah.
it's like, and so it is. So I'm like, we're talking about it because it's going to happen. And I know people listening need to read it.
I
I
hope
think
so. Yeah.
it's so normal though. This is something, God, I think like, I've interviewed, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Martha Beck, who
Yeah.
wrote, oh God, she's written so many different books, a book on integrity, and a lot of her books are really go to the.
I didn't even think about people like that because I have them on such a pedestal, and I know
That's what
they're
I
just
mean.
people,
Right.
but like I think of like the Brene Browns and the, Glennon Doyles and the people who I just idolize because they
Yeah.
live that they share authentically in a way
Yeah.
that touches people. So I can't even think about them because
Right. What, but my point is, in interviewing some of them, they're saying the same thing. I had that moment of like, who am I to do this? I'm all a mess. It's all over the place. And I
yeah,
think it's important to say this because this is I felt that you're not alone. I know people listening, like it reminds me of that awesome, I love Rumi, that quote, what you're seeking is seeking you. So what you feel moved to
love Rumi.
share is waiting for you. And so this book, like, even though it's, I don't know where it is in the 9-month process, maybe it's like conceived and it's like month 3. I don't know. I feel like maybe you're still a little nauseous in the pregnancy of this
Well,
book.
my last pregnancy, I was nauseous all 9 months. So
Oh,
let's
I
never
remember.
use that as a reference point because that was
No, you
pretty
threw
traumatic.
up quite a
Let me
bit.
just
I was
tell you,
like,
if there's any pregnant people out there who are sick and they've not gotten well, I see you. And all the people who like didn't ever get sick and they give you this look of like, it's not that bad, you can punch them in the face in your head.
exactly. It's rough times. I remember when I visited and I was like, oh God, I feel so
9-month
bad.
hangover. That's how I describe it.
It's
9-month
terrible.
hangover. Ooh,
You
never,
know,
never
I,
again. I'm
never
done.
again. Well, I think the other thing is, and I'm thinking for those, if you haven't had children, and even if you have not been through this, or maybe you're an auntie or you're close with a friend,
Uncle.
an uncle, exactly, that I think you can also look at this as that birthing process of something new within yourself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Whether it's a dark night of the soul or it's a challenge, because that breakthrough, which you had gone through in other ways, you talked about with recovery, like that's really applicable. You were saying like that feeling of coming back to yourself
Yeah.
came from the breakdown of
Right.
overwhelm,
Didn't you
exhaustion.
ever hear that song by Frou Frou? It was on the Garden State soundtrack called Breakdown. Or Break.
No, do you want to sing
It
it?
sings about like there's beauty in the breakdown. It's a really
M's
good song.
M's
Or
got a good
maybe
voice.
called Let Go. It's called Let Go. Frou
Like,
Frou.
let it go.
No,
That's
no, it's a
crazy.
really good song.
Okay. Do you want to sing us? Do you want to sing like
No, I could find it on Spotify. I will not be singing on your podcast.
okay. We
I'm
can't
not going
play
to
it
find
on
it.
here because then I'll
No.
get a little notice from YouTube that says
Licensing. Okay,
license
I've just
situation.
given a plug to a very obscure artist. And some of the people will be like, I know that song and it's a good song. Did you ever see the movie Garden State?
No,
It was like the best movie. Oh my God.
I know. No, I
Watch
got to see
Garden
it.
State with Natalie Portman and Zach Braff. It's very good.
All right. So everyone listening, Garden State, we're going to all watch this
Like early
together.
2000s vibe.
Yeah.
And it was like a really good soundtrack.
Nice.
Anyway, I digress. This is welcome to
Anywho.
having ADD. This is having conversation with me. There's like no less than 2 or 3 conversations happening at the same time. And I have friends like, Brittany, she's like my best friend and she's very similar. And we will be having like literally 3 different conversations, but like we both
Yeah.
follow them all because that's,
Yeah.
when your brain works
I
that
think
way.
I have a slight case of this. I'm all over the place too. And I'm tracking you. I think I'm really good at it. Just growing up in our household. I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
I'm here. We're there.
Here, I'm there, I'm everywhere.
I'm everywhere. I think coming back to the book and like really honoring the mess and the messiness and the creating out of the lines and the
Yeah.
stories and the breakdown. I was just thinking, I'm like, do you remember when we were younger? Like, I remember when I started the show, I was like, okay. I mean, I similarly was like, what did I love doing? I'm like, I used to spend hours by myself outside or with a friend or probably you and
Yeah.
pretended there were cameras and I was like literally holding a microphone, which was nothing more than my hand or a pudding
We
popsicle
made
stick.
shows all the time. We made
Yeah.
cooking shows.
We make
It wasn't even cooking shows, we made eating shows.
yeah.
Like we
We're
didn't cook anything. We made eating shows with our
such
food.
addicts. Oh my God. That's true.
But we also loved a spotlight. So
Yeah, we would just, yeah. Actually, all the little books I
back
wrote
to
in
you,
third,
Bob.
right? Oh my gosh. So
I used to do that with Rebecca Udler. We would record. I don't know what we would make. We would
so
record shows too.
funny.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, if you're following still, yay, you. We are just going off, but this is fun. It's fun for
Put a
me.
podcast on in the car, let it play. You come in and out.
Exactly. This is the time you might want to take a breath, run to the store. It's all good. Come back
No.
in. No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Actually, it was Becca Thomas's. Remember her? She would play. I always made her be the guest I was interviewing. She
Yeah.
like was not able to be the host. I'm like, nope, I'm the host. Here's the popsicle
I got
stick.
this.
Yeah, I got this. Pudding pops. Remember pudding pops them with like
Yeah.
the little phrase on there? That's what I use as my mic. Or the hand, either way. Yeah. So, but these things, they tell you, they're clues. Like
Yeah.
you are always a good writer. Actually, what's funny is our mom has literally like 500 pictures and things that we've drawn in her home. It's actually to the point where it's a bit much, but like I know because your picture you drew, which by the way, everything was in the line. There's like this picture of Mickey Mouse, which is
Yeah.
totally a copyright issue, but that I won't say anything. It is
I mean,
so
I think I
good.
was like 9 when I drew it, so I don't know if they would actually sue me for copyright.
That's probably all right. She's got it. She's got that over like the real thing. I mean, our
Yeah,
mom has like
it's all
endless.
but that's the other thing. She also like valued art. Like
Yeah.
mom's a musician, so
Yeah.
but I'm just grateful that that was like viewed as important.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Me too.
I think what the arts do for, I was gonna say kids, but for humans is like it allows that self-expression, it allows that authenticity. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason why the art therapy is a thing. There's a reason it's soothing, it's healing, but it also tells you a lot about a person. And so I don't know, like I do think that
Yeah.
growing up with that like space was
Yeah.
created like a mentality for like, oh, let me go back to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember being in my room for like hours drawing things? You were really
Totally.
good at art.
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, why am I? Although when I get on Canva, I'm like, yes,
I
Canva is a
love
free.
Canva.
I actually have the upgraded pro, which is so awesome, but it's where you
So
can design stuff. You don't have to be an artist. But what comes to mind is this thought that, we talk about the universe, God being our creator. And I
Mhm.
always think we're in that image. We're meant to create, co-create, be creative. And so that's really, and I'm thinking like everyone listening, go look and see where is your creative
Well, I
spark.
even look at Mike, my husband. He's very handy, and he can
Yeah.
build things and weld things, and he can build an engine and a carburetor and fix cars and like drywall. Like he can do anything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is a art, like
Yep.
to be able to build things. And it's so funny because like typically you would like he's not a great writer, but he's good with math. Like there's typically like that would not be classified as like an artistic person, but I'm like, that's an art form. Like
Oh yeah.
you like can weld something like
Yeah.
into something. He built our back patio fence and it's like beautiful. And I'm like, I
Wow.
don't know, like when I hang stuff on the wall, I eyeball it, and I stick a nail in the wall and he's like got to level out. And I mean, this is the difference between a Virgo and a Scorpio
I
too.
was gonna say, is he a
Yeah.
Virgo?
He's a
He's a
Virgo.
Virgo.
I saw the funniest meme around Christmas time, and it was like all the different astrology signs and how they hang Christmas lights. And the Virgo one was like perfectly gridded off, like super even, like horizontal and vertical, and I was like measured off, and I was like, that is you, like
Yeah.
so particular, so like perfectionistic. But yes, he is a Virgo.
That is so funny.
And
I
I
was
am
just
not.
thinking of dad who tried to build the shed and it was like inside out, upside down, like it was
No.
inverted. It was horrible. Yeah. 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 He didn't get that. We
Although
love our
dad's a
dad.
good writer. Dad's a good writer.
Yeah. Dad's a good writer.
You know what?
Not
I'm pretty
handy.
good at building stuff.
What'd you say? Yeah.
I'm pretty good. I think I built our stereo when I was like 10 years old. Like remember mom got a stereo. Like remember those big stereos from like the early
Yeah.
90s?
And the
And
VHS, the VCR. I was like
everything. Yeah.
terrible at that. Terrible.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, all right. Before we land this plane, which by the way, I feel like you've dropped so many nuggets. You might have to like get your basket throughout and just be like, oh, there's one and there's another, like kind of throughout. There's a lot of nuggets though. Would you say, I'm going to ask this and you can answer both. The biggest lesson or learning you've had, what is that wisdom that you've harvested from, frankly, I think going through some dark stuff and being who you are today in recovery? What is some of the biggest lessons that you think would help others? And if there's a quote or something that like inspires you that you live by, although you did say, what did you just say before you were talking about? We talked about protecting your balls, but it might be something other than that. So I'm going to give you some
That's going to be on my headstone.
airtime. Airtime. What's that like wisdom, biggest lesson?
Oh my God. That's like
Sorry, it's a big one. I can't
Big,
help
like, one thing to tell people to save the world right now.
it.
So like the biggest lesson from like recovery or from, I guess like, what is it that's like, there's a few different things. Like obviously, um, I think like getting like, gosh, let me think.
Could be
Play some
anything.
like interlude music because I'm gonna need a second.
Could be with recovery or being a mom.
No, I guess like I think of like you're only as sick as your secrets, right? So like,
Ooh, good one.
and I don't know what it's like to be a non like alcoholic, but I do know for somebody who struggles with like addiction, and I think everybody has a vice. It's um
Mm,
like getting current, you know, getting honest with somebody, like
yeah.
carrying, like I do think like carrying something alone, like you can make yourself physically sick, you know what I mean? And I think like for me, like there were certain things that like I was always gonna like drink over or do drugs over, you know, like and some of it just had to do with like character defects, like things that I didn't like about myself. And I think getting current with yourself, like inventorying your life and like okay, and aside from that, okay, this is it. This is probably it for me. Is like the superpower that I didn't know. Like
Yep.
the power in ownership of like
Ooh,
you always, okay, I personally always have a part in everything. Even if somebody like wronged me, like did I continue to go back to this relationship and allow the
mm,
person to wrong me? Um or maybe something, and then there are things that happen to us that truly aren't really our fault, like something, you know, tragic or painful, but it's like, did I like continue to tell myself a story about it? Did I continue to blame myself about it? Did I
yeah.
um, obsess on it? You know, there's just always somewhere, there's nothing more empowering than finding your part because that's what you have control over. I can't control anybody else. I can't control like life happening on life's terms, but like, how am I going to respond to it? Do I want to react because I could react and throw a freaking tantrum, or I could respond and find a way to like allow it to make me stronger or better or show up differently, you know? And I just think even in dealing with like, you know, we deal with people all day, every day, and it's like we're going to have conflict. And it's like, there's just no power in me pointing the finger. There just isn't. Like, I can learn like
Mm,
what I don't want in a relationship, but like my part, owning my part, finding my part first. Like, I have been trained by recovery to see my part,
yep.
even when it's uncomfortable. And sometimes I can't. And I have trusted people in my life who won't just sit there and co-sign my bullshit. And they'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you know, where were you fearful? Where were you selfish? Where were you
Yeah.
self-seeking? Where were you um not in integrity with
Right.
yourself or with what you said you're gonna do? So I don't know. To me, that's like
That's awesome.
learning to do that, learning to think differently, because that was not my natural state. My natural state is you're to blame, and here's why. And I'm very good at arguing, and I will make you believe that you are wrong. And it doesn't matter. You might be wrong. It doesn't even matter because it doesn't like
Right.
do anything for me. It's just
Right.
it's like justifiable anger. Like,
Yeah.
great, you made a case. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
great, you win.
Woohoo.
Like that saying, like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Right. And
Yeah.
so
Ooh, this is all right. You got to it. I think what you said earlier too about like you're only sick as your secrets for those listening. That's definitely
that's a big one.
in 12 steps. But this is something like, is there something you're holding on to, shame or something that you
Yeah.
haven't shared? Share it. And then what you just said, I gotta say, I'm like, oh heck yes. This is what I think our world is asking for,
Well,
which is
yes.
taking
There's no
responsibility.
power in like victim mentality. I'm not
That's
saying
right.
there's no such thing as a victim because there's people who have been victimized by horrendous, horrific things.
Yeah.
However, like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, take the time to grieve, take the time to feel the feelings you need to feel. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, how are you going to continue to live your life? Like,
To respond versus react. How are
yeah,
you
like
going to be
I don't want
empowered?
to live in a space of life is happening to me. There's just
Right.
nothing empowering about that.
Right.
But I also understand that like sometimes shitty things happen.
Yeah.
Or sometimes shitty things happen that I have a part in. Like sometimes you go through, a divorce or a breakup or an argument with a best friend, or you get fired. You know what I mean? It's like, and like you couldn't have seen it coming, but then it's like you probably, if you really think about it, let's say you got fired, right? If you really go back and think about it, there's probably somewhere where you had a part in that. Like,
Absolutely.
you
Of
know,
course.
even if it's like, oh, your boss was an asshole, but like, were you humble enough to like allow him to be the boss? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just so many
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to like take your power back. And like I'm
Right.
just not interested in, there's nothing worse feeling to me than to feeling like I'm not, I guess it's a control thing. Like I want to feel like I have control over my life, and like what can I control? I can only control
Yeah.
the way I respond. Like that's it.
That
The only thing I have control over. And I'm
that
holding
is
on to that. I'm not fucking giving that away. Sorry. I realized to swear for swearing.
amen. No, amen. Yeah. And amen. And I have to say, that's kind of why working with people in 12 steps, why I got into coaching was both to do that with others, but
Yeah.
also having people help me with that. Like what you're saying, this to me is one of the most important things as humans we can, I mean, this is like it is taking ownership and responsibility
Mhm.
versus victim versus like
Well, and it feels
pointing the
different
finger.
vibrationally. Like it feels
Yeah.
energetically. Like
It's
I think
empowering.
the reason that I get so uncomfortable with feeling uncomfortable is because like I don't want to attract more of it. I don't want to get stuck in that space. But that's not true either. That's an old story too. Like you're not actually stuck.
Yeah.
Like you're like, in fact, there's like, I think the pendulum can swing really far. You can get really stuck in like a depression or whatever. And then like the other side of it is like, I don't want to feel this. So I'm just going to go straight to feeling good. And it's like, that's not really healthy either, because you didn't
No.
stop to like allow yourself to process. So I
Yeah.
think it's like trusting that like, if I process this,
Right.
then it's going to like go away faster, or I'm going to feel different faster. And I'm not going to get stuck in that. But I personally have a lot of fear around that. Like, I don't want to end up a certain way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like,
Right.
that's also fear. That's not real.
Right. Right. Which is good because I know I'm guessing everyone listening, right? That fear, false evidence appearing real, that thing, whether it's like, I don't want to be like that way my dad or mom was. I mean, I know
Yeah.
we talked about that. However, it's like the antidote that you're bringing up is you actually, and this is what you said earlier, you've got to put it to the light. You've got to look at it and feel it. Don't bypass it. And then it's, what's my part in that? What's my part in the story or the
What can I
belief?
do differently too? Like, how can I
Yeah.
change the way I like, where did I contribute to that situation? Because 99%, there's an exception to every rule, but like truly
I agree.
most situations, unless we're talking about very extreme things, very specific things, like you participated in it. If you are in a relationship, you participate in the relationship.
Yes,
And if the
you do.
person you're in a relationship with is a total asshole, well, you continue to stay with a total asshole. Like that's your part. Like you keep going into the lion's den, you're going to keep getting bitten. I mean, I talked to my daughter, my oldest daughter, about this. She had some friends that were like, girl stuff. And I was like, okay, if you keep going to sit with them at lunch and they keep being mean to you at lunch, you're going to keep getting what you get. And it's funny, she like made a change and found these wonderful new friends. And then it was funny, the other little girl who was sitting at that table, then she left because they were being mean to her. And I'm like, you see, it's not you. You
Yeah.
have to remove yourself. And so I do think it's like, we always have a part, almost always have a part. I feel like I almost always have a part.
It's the
Really annoying, actually.
yeah, no, it's like you realize actually I have everything to do with everything happening, but it's
Yeah.
really the anti-victim mentality. And I think that
Yeah.
is for all of us to look and see what's playing out around us in the world, in our life. Where is that happening in you? Where is that you part of that situation? I love what you're saying. And I think I feel like this is it, is taking responsibility and really asking, okay, what do I want to change? What do I want to do about it? Like, I don't want to just,
Like, who do I want to be?
yeah, there
Who
you
do I
go.
want to be in this? How do
Yeah.
I want to show up? And like, how do I want to feel?
Nice. All right. We're going to add that. There are some serious, powerful questions,
This
nuggets.
is all for the end. Hope you made it.
Oh, yeah. No, if you're still with us, we
Yeah.
love you. We're amazed. We're high
Back
fiving
to
you.
you, Bob.
Here's the pudding pop. Back to you, Joan. I think there was a Joan and a Bob. I don't know. This is like
There
whoever
was a
was on
Bob.
TV.
There was
Yeah, there
always
was.
a Bob.
Yep, there was a Bob. And if you're listening and you're a Bob, we love you, Bob.
See you, Bob.
Good to see you.
Bob's a great name.
Yeah,
Bob.
it's a good one. So I think we're gonna land the plane. Although I will say, if you're interested to hear more, just chit chat with Julie and Em, let me know because this is fun, and I would totally just get on a Zoom and do more. So fun as always, and we go way back. So
Since 78.
78 for you. I'll keep mine to myself, but not
Well,
that
we
much.
go back to 78. You go back,
74. Yeah.
1963. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
She just aged
74.
really well. I would almost rather tell the truth about the age and look
Oh
good
yeah.
for your age. Because like if you lie about your age and then you're like older and people are like, damn, what happened?
Right.
You know?
Right. No, I'm all good with it. I just
Yeah.
joke. Although I am the year of the tiger. What year are you? What are you? Is it monkey? I think
No,
you're monkey.
I think I was horse.
Oh, maybe
I was
horse.
horse.
Your
I
mom
don't
was
know. Is this
monkey.
the Chinese calendar now?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I just remember the placemats at the Chinese restaurant.
Oh my God. Yeah. Our family we still love Chinese food, like big time.
We don't have any good Chinese out
We
here,
did
really.
that well. We ate a lot of that. Any last words, or I call them heart flares?
Heart flares.
Yeah. Your heart's like, wait a minute. Gotta say this. Besides zodiacs, astrology, Chinese food. Anything else?
I don't know.
It's okay if not. We can always.
I mean, a lot of different things are in my brain right now. I just thought about donuts right now. I don't know why.
We were in Boston. Dunkin' Donuts is everywhere. I bet you that's why.
I don't think that's why, but I just think I sometimes think about donuts.
Yep. What about you, Bob?
You know what? Life's short. Eat the donut.
Donut.
That's
all right. Well, there you have it.
That's my final heart flare.
Eat. This has been one of the more fun. I'm like
a lighter episode, probably.
This is a lighter. No, my cheeks. I always say, like, if my cheeks are killing at the end, they're hurting. It's a great combo, and they like actually hurt around my eyes. Which, since let me just say, I don't know how that's going to be for like the natural wrinkling that's happening, but I don't even care. I have smile lines, and it's okay. But they hurt. My cheeks really hurt. So
as
just
long
eat
as it's
the donut.
facial cheeks.
Yeah, facial cheeks. Yeah, not the other cheeks.
Sorry, guys. This is the more inappropriate sister of the two. I kept it very G-rated, but you don't follow me on Twitter if you don't like inappropriate. Gets a little racing over there.
If you like a little racing and appropriate, though, you should follow Em because she's funny as shit. You really are. It's very witty.
All right.
Very witty. So we're going to end with eat the donut if that works for you. And if it doesn't, don't eat the donut. Do what you want. But
eat whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Do what works. Well, this has been enlightening.
So deep.
So deep. 78, 74, right here with you. Over and out to Bob. I love you. Thanks for doing this. Thank you everyone for listening and still hanging. We do want to know, like, what did you get from this?
Do your jeans fit properly after listening to this?
Yeah. And how do you feel about that? Let us know.
I co-sign pants that don't have buttons.
Yeah. I mean, I still like the maternity thing because they fit well.
Yeah. And they hold it in. They hold in the pupa.
Stretchy is good. There's nothing wrong with that. So eat donuts or not, get jeans that fit, and let us know, like, how do you feel when they don't? And let us know your top, what's your takeaway here?
People are literally like, what just happened?
I know. We love you. We love your Youest You. Yay.